Okay, so well, here we are. The last video I was stringing all the wire out, which the way that MJ, go grab that water. So what I basically did was I already knew roughly how much distance there was between my array to the inside where my inverter is going to be. So instead of trying to measure each wire individually, we basically just pulled out one wire, measured it, cut it, and pulled it back to like our starting point, which was like over here in this garage door. And then at the end of it, we pulled it tight and we dropped like a piece of wood or something so that we had like a marker to where to walk the next piece of wire to. MJ, where is that piece of wood still laying in the grass down there?
Yeah, I think.
We'll go get it. So, and I had one set I wanted to be 30 feet longer because I'm going to have a another safety switch and combiner box like halfway down the array, which is is about 50 feet, but I want, even if I can have it another 30 feet down the array or whatever, it still makes my runs from the strings of panels back to the combiner box shorter. So I mean, I only had 1,000 feet of wire, and based on the math and the number of wires that I needed, 30 feet sounded like a good round number. Damn it, that just bounced right back out of that pot. So anyways, we pulled all the wires out. I marked the ends of all the wires, and we bundled them up together, with electrical tape, and pretty much just made like a rough spool here, and it's gonna basically lay here until I get ready to put it in the conduit, which will hopefully be like tomorrow. Which is gonna it's not gonna be that bad. I think it's gonna be pretty easy. So anyways, back to this. This was my ghetto freaking wire spool holder, and this was probably the easiest thing that I could possibly think of, was 2 cinder blocks, and that's like a digging bar. I was using that rake, but
It almost broke.
it's chintzy. It's like a $10 rake. Here, go put this back over by the other garage door. So I do still have some wire, which is good news. So in here, which of course you can't see because my kids don't know how to turn the lights off, so this light down here is constantly burned out. But everything is going to be running into this sub panel, and what I was doing, MJ, get out of here. Everything that I was doing down here, for whatever reason, my electrical inspector said that he wants to have this EMT conduit on anything that's inside of the house. Don't ask me why this 60 amp wire is any different than any other 60 amp wire in my house. But just basically to show you what I have going on here, these 2 wires, this one and this one here, that one's coming out of a different piece of EMT that's also going to be going right to this box. It's running, up in the ceiling through there. Can you stop doing that? Through there. It comes out the other side, and it just runs all the way down to here, which also over here there's going to be like an elbow. It's going to come down, and over in this area will be my 2 inverters, and also this wall will be where the main wires that come out of the array make go through this wall, and will also be connected to the the inverter, the DC side. So that's why I'm saying once I get the DC wires through this wall, I'll know the exact location of where they need to be, and then I'll be able to start connecting all these wires to the inverter, and then really connecting it to this freaking sub panel over here is basically easy as can be. There are still some other miscellaneous odds and ends that I got to do besides the wiring inside of here, and I have to wire up all the strings at the array, and I've yet my MC4 connectors are on their way. This stuff here is all the safety disconnects and stuff. I actually have some extra ones, but I needed 4 total, and I accidentally bought the wrong ones, so I actually have 4 safety disconnects sitting here, or 6 of them. I mean, I think this one, there's one there too. And over here, I thought this box was garbage, but it's not. This is actually the 500 feet of 10 gauge wire for making extensions and stuff like that for my strings up at the array. And what was the point of what I was going to say? Oh, well, also I have to ground all the rails up at the array, and I'm going to put in some grounding rods up there too. I have grounding rods all over the place, but I'm going to put 2 of them up at the array. I'm going to ground all the rails for the array using 6 gauge wire, which I don't have yet, but I already ordered. It's on the way. And I'm going to ground the equipment grounds up there, and I'm actually that bundle of wires that I was showing you earlier that I had pulled out that's going to go from the array to the inside of the house. I'm actually pulling 2 gauge ground wires that are going to be connected directly to the grounding rods out at the array. And the reasoning for that is because I'm actually trying to go overkill with the grounding, because for whatever reason SMA in their instructions says something along the lines of the ground that's on like the DC side of the inverter needs to be the same size as the biggest conductor on the DC side, because the thing is like the ground from the grounds, the frames of the panels, that ground is the ground that goes to the inverter. You have to keep those separate from the grounds of the AC side of the system inside of the house. So I'm just trying to go overkill with the grounds. And hopefully, everything will be copacetic and I won't have any problems with the electrical inspector. Ugh. So, pick up that tape measure. I guess we're going to put this rest of this spindle of wire away. 1,000 feet of aluminum wire was about, I don't know, I think it was like $300-400. I ordered it from Home Depot. But compared to 1,000 feet of copper wire, which would be, it was like over $1,000. They wanted like $1,200 or something like that. And I wanted to use the 2 gauge wire because this is such a long run that I'm trying to have as little loss as I possibly can. And 2-gauge wire is like the maximum that my safety shutoff allows. But that's even in I did all the research, and where is it here? This one here, 60 amp, 600 volt DC, 2-pole. The maximum wire that this can take is a 2-gauge, and the inverter allows for up to a 2-gauge, but don't ask me why the SMA says 2-gauge, but it's copper only. So at some point I have to transition from aluminum to copper, but I think what I'm going to use is like a mechanical splice, and hot shrink, use shrink tape on the mechanical splice, and just have like the exposed copper end to go into the inverter. You guys will see that whenever I get into that in the next week or two. Hopefully I'll have this thing wrapped up. I mean, this weekend I should be able to get some serious stuff done, but I don't know. What'd you say?
There's a big beetle somewhere.
Eat it.
You eat it. You told me to eat it. How about you do it?
You eat it. Okay, we gotta